Liam had been to Porto once before, but that was years ago, when he was a student backpacking through Europe. Now, in his 30s, he came with a heavier heart. His mother had passed away, and with her death came the unexpected inheritance of a small, centuries-old townhouse on Rua das Flores, tucked between shops selling cork handbags and wine cellars offering tastings of tawny port. It was late November. Porto was damp, the air laced with sea salt and the faint smell of grilled sardines wafting from taverns. Rain slicked the cobblestones, turning the steep streets into treacherous slides. Liam's suitcase rattled behind him as he searched for the house. Number 47 looked forgotten, its shutters peeled and paint cracked. Unlike the bright tiles and polished facades of neighboring buildings, this house seemed stuck in another century. The front door groaned when he pushed it open, and the scent inside hit him: mildew, stale air, and something faintly metallic. He set his bag down in the dim hallway, noticing how the electricity flickered when he turned the lights on. Dust lined the furniture, and cobwebs stretched across corners. Still, he told himself, it was only temporary. He'd clean the place, stay a week, and then decide whether to sell it or rent it out. That night, lying in the unfamiliar bed upstairs, he listened to the rain drumming against the roof. Somewhere beneath the wind, he thought he heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, deliberate, as if someone was dragging their heels. He froze, straining his ears. The sound stopped, leaving him with the ticking of the old wall clock. Telling himself it was just the pipes or the settling of the house, he forced his eyes shut. But when sleep finally came, it was thick with uneasy dreams of figures standing in doorways, watching. By the second day, Liam had started cleaning. Dust sheets went out the windows, broken furniture dragged to the street. As he worked, he noticed strange details: scratches along the wooden floorboards, too uniform to be random, old wax stains on the stairwell as though candles had once lined the way. Down in the cellar, where the air was colder and damper, he found shelves of old bottles, their labels eaten away by time. Among them lay something else, a leather-bound journal, its cover warped but intact. The entries were written in Portuguese, but Liam knew enough to piece words together. They dated back to the 1920s. The writer spoke of the voices in the walls and a presence that refused to leave. One entry ended with the words, "If I do not lock the door tonight, it will come upstairs." That evening, as he sat by the small fireplace, Liam felt a draught stir the room. The shutters rattled, though the wind outside had died down. And then came the faintest sound, whispering, not outside on the street, inside the walls themselves. He pressed his ear to the plaster, breath held. Muffled words slithered through, indistinct but undeniably human. He pulled back, heart hammering. Rats, he told himself, or echoes from the neighbors. But when he checked outside, the adjacent houses were separated by thick walls, not thin enough to carry voices. Later, lying in bed again, the whispers returned. This time, they seemed closer, rising and falling like a conversation he wasn't meant to hear. He clutched the journal under his blanket, reading the last line he'd translated. Once you hear them clearly, they are already in the room with you. The whispering stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than sound. On the third day, Liam explored further. In the upstairs hallway, behind a wardrobe, he discovered a narrow door. It was locked with an old iron keyhole, its edges sealed with nails hammered deep. The wood looked darker than the rest, as if stained. He remembered the journal's mention of a door, of locking it to keep something out, or in. His first instinct was to leave it alone, but the thought gnawed at him all day. By dusk, he was prying nails loose with the back of a hammer. The door creaked open into a small, windowless room. Inside was nothing but a wooden chair facing the wall. The plaster bore long scratches, as though fingernails had raked it over and over. The air stank of rot, though nothing was visibly decaying. He closed the door quickly, heart racing, and dragged the wardrobe back in front of it. But that night, the scratching began. From inside the walls, then closer, at the locked door itself. Liam lay frozen, sheets clutched to his chest. The noise grew louder, scraping, frantic, as if someone trapped inside was desperate to claw their way out. And then came the knock. One single, deliberate knock. His phone lit up on the nightstand. A notification, new voice memo saved. Confused, he unlocked the screen. He hadn't recorded anything, but when he pressed play, he heard it. His own voice, whispering in Portuguese words he didn't understand. The journal slid from his nightstand onto the floor without being touched. He stared, paralyzed, as the locked door creaked softly behind the wardrobe. The next morning, Liam went straight to the tourist office, desperate to find out more about the house. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, frowned when he gave the address. "That place has been empty a long time," she said cautiously. "Some say it was cursed. Tenants never stayed long. They said they heard things." When he pressed, she lowered her voice. "During the dictatorship, men were taken there, interrogated. Some never left. Neighbors swore the screams never stopped, even after the house was abandoned." Back at Rua das Flores, Liam resolved to leave. He packed quickly, avoiding the upstairs hallway. But as he lifted his suitcase to the door, the power cut out. Darkness swallowed the rooms. The whispers began again, this time clear. "Stay." The suitcase handle slipped from his grip. His breath fogged in the air, though the house was not cold. Footsteps descended the stairs behind him, measured, heavy. He turned, but the hallway was empty. Still, the steps continued, coming closer. Heart pounding, he fumbled the door open and stumbled into the street. Rain poured down, washing the cobblestones slick. But when he looked back at the facade of number 47, all the windows were dark, except one. From the upstairs room, behind the shutters, a figure stood watching. Its outline was human, but wrong somehow, too still, too sharp. Liam dragged his suitcase down Rua das Flores, refusing to look back again. He didn't stop until he reached the river, the lights of Porto's bridges glowing through the storm. That night, at a rented hotel room across the city, he tried to sleep. But just before dawn, his phone vibrated on the nightstand. Another notification, new voice memo saved. With trembling hands, he pressed play. It was his mother's voice, whispering in the same low tone from the walls. "You should never have opened the door."